All right, so I wanted to come here and give some extended thoughts on Abdullah Mason because I think, in boxing media, we're very quick to put fighters down. We're very quick to point out what's not going right in the sport, who's not fighting who, who's ducking who. But us in the media, I don't think we're as quick to point out when somebody's doing things the right way and being an asset to the sport of boxing. So I'm trying to find that happy balance. I'm developing as a content creator reporter as the fighters develop themselves. So I'm trying to really find the happy medium between being constructively critical, but also being equally, able to praise things when they're worthy of praise. So, Abdullah Mason, first and foremost, I want to give an extra big shout out. I said it a lot in my post-fight review video at the ringside, but I want to give an extra big shout out to the people of Cleveland, Ohio, Toledo, Ohio, and the whole Ohio in general that showed up and made this event between Albert Bell and Abdullah Mason on the 4th of July one of the greatest atmospheres I've ever been a part of. And I've been to fights all over the world, from New York City to Miami to LA to Las Vegas to Phoenix to Japan to Nicaragua. I mean, I've been around, I've experienced a lot of different things, and I gotta say, last night's crowd was amongst the greatest atmospheres I've ever been a part of. So that being said, tip of the cap goes to the Ohio boxing fans, and hopefully they bring more fans, big time fights back to Ohio, because Ohio is Cleveland and just Ohio in general. It's a boxing area, But anyway, the main idea of this video is, in fact, Abdullah Mason, the youngest in charge, the youngest active world champion in boxing today. We got numbers in the media, and I saw the numbers that I got in my email for the attendance, and I was hearing throughout the night that they had sold 9,000 plus tickets, but the number we got in the media was actually, the official attendance was 10,101 tickets sold for Abdullah Mason versus Albert Bell. 10,101 people in attendance for Abdullah Mason versus Albert Bell. An amazing number when you consider the fact that this is Abdullah Mason's first world title defense. Abdullah Mason is 22 years old. He's 22 years old. Not a lot of fighters with 10 title defenses, 5 title defenses can sell 10,000 tickets in their hometown. He's doing it in his first title defense in his hometown. And so there's something to be said about the star power of Abdullah Mason. And I want to give you guys my perspective as somebody who, I was staying in East Cleveland. I was staying in the hood. I was staying like 10 blocks from where Bone Thugs and Harmony's from. I was staying in the hood. So I walked through the East Cleveland. I walked through the hood of East Cleveland. And I actually walked from my Airbnb to downtown Cleveland on foot in the middle of the day, on the day of the press conference. So it was like 5 miles, an hour and 40 minutes. And I got a chance to really see like the different side of Cleveland that you don't normally see. And on the way to my walk, I kid you not, I saw billboards for Abdullah Mason around East Cleveland. I saw posters at barbershops for his fight in East Cleveland. When I got to the Willerstein Center on the day of the fight, just outside the arena, there was a billboard right across the street of Abdullah Mason, right by the arena. So what that tells me is that Abdullah Mason has the support of the local community, and he really has Cleveland behind him. And like I told the brothers, you have the Cleveland Browns, you got the Cleveland Cavaliers, you got the Cleveland Indians, and I'm gonna keep calling them the Indians, not the Guardians, the Cleveland Indians, right? Those are the professional sports franchises in Cleveland, Ohio. But I do feel like Abdullah Mason in his own right is slowly but surely starting to become a professional sporting franchise in his own right in Cleveland, Ohio, because he's got a lot of likability to him. He's the no-nonsense guy in the ring, very personable outside of it. And the entrance he had, I gotta tell you, his entrance for the Albert Bell fight was amazing. We Are the Champions started playing. Then you had the mascots for the Cavaliers and the Browns walk out. Then you had, Machine Gun Kelly playing. You had Bone Thugs play for a little bit, and then ultimately he walked out to Slick Rick, Hey Young World, which is one of my favorite songs and a great song. And so to me, he had one of the greatest ring entrances you're gonna see. It really had the crowd on fire. The arena's on fire, and so he has a healthy dynamic of likability, his fighting style. But I also think Abdullah Mason, quiet as kept, he does understand. Shout out to Derek Harmon in the background. Abdullah Mason does understand the aspect of entertainment, right? So that's why you saw him doing backflips and things like that. So, yeah, man, Abdullah Mason, what could be next for him? You know, I don't know what's next, but I just know that he's one of the guys in boxing right now that I feel is doing right by boxing. Look at his resume, you know, 21 fights in, turned professional in 2021. Look at his last two fights. To me, his last two fights are very telling fights because we live in a day and age where people want to babysit their fighters. They don't want to move these guys fast. They don't want them in there with certain names, high risk, low reward guys. And, you know, he fought Sam Noakes. Sam Noakes is a guy that he's a guy that a lot of people didn't want to fight. You know, a dangerous guy, big puncher, rugged. That was a tough fight for Mason. And that was a fight that won him the title. Probably one of the better fights you're ever going to see for somebody winning their first world title. You know, one of the best fights of 2025, hands down. Then you follow it up. You know, you were scheduled to fight Joe Cordina, good fighter, former world champion, two-time champion, all that blase. But he can't make the fight. He pulls out. You get the option to fight Albert Bell on a week and a half notice. So look, a lot of guys want to fight Albert Bell with a 9-week notice, an 8-week notice, let alone a 1.5-week notice, and he takes the challenge. You know, Albert Bell was the #1 contender at 130 pounds. Jamel Herring could have fought him. Shakur Stevenson could have fought him. Lamar Roach even at one particular point could have fought him. A lot of big names could have fought Albert Bell and chose to go another direction. He was an avoided fighter, and you saw him in the first 6 rounds last night. Why? He's long, he's rangy, he's disciplined, he's professional. He keeps you at the end of his punches really, really well. And Albert Bell is good at what he does, right? But Mason fought him, and Mason fought him for his first world title defense. 28-0, experienced, hungry, 33-year-old, seasoned in the game, Albert Bell. And he was, and make no mistake about it, in the early rounds, he was losing the fight. I thought he lost 4 of the first 6 rounds. I thought Albert Bell was doing a good job of getting his jab established, stepping over to his right, landing the right hand, and even landing combinations on Abdullah Mason. But Abdullah Mason stayed poised, he stayed calm, he made the adjustment, and the talent and the ferociousness and the offensive dynamicism of Abdullah Mason, that all allowed him to really and truthfully get the stoppage late in the fight and make the defense. So I'm saying all these things to say that when you talk about someone who's doing everything right in boxing, it's Abdullah Mason. I mean, from all aspects. And I think his dad, Valiant Mason, deserves a lot of credit for how he's been brought along and things like that. And we'll see where it goes. I mean, there's interesting fights for him. Obviously, the other top-ranked champion is Ram Murataya, so that could be an option. You know, I would like that fight. I think Murataya he's got to get through Robinson Conceição on August 1st, but that would be an option. I'm not sure how open to the idea top rank is, but you know, it's definitely an option. And then you got Floyd Schofield and Lucas Body, who are supposed to fight for the WBA title. Now, for me, when I look at the fight for Mason, I would like to see Mason fight Floyd Schofield if he wins that belt. I think that'd be a great rivalry fight. Schofield Sr. has talked a lot about what Mason isn't and what he is, and that he's not a threat to Kid Austin. I think that'd be a great fight, a true rivalry fight in the sport of boxing. Those are always great. And then you got Roach and Zepeda, who are going to be fighting for the WBC title, right? So that could be a potential fight as well for Abdullah Mason. And look, he's shown us that he does have an appetite for the smoke. It's not just something he puts on a t-shirt because it sounds cool and catchy. No, like he really believes that he'll really fight anybody. So really good options for him there. And 10,000 tickets, your first defense. I mean, it just shows you that he's done right in the ring, and Top Rank's are right behind him outside the ring. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Y'all could let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.